Hey guys, on today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, that Highlander reboot starring Henry Cavill, yeah, it's John Wick director Chad Stahelski's next movie up, and they just announced that he's going to be shepherding and overseeing the entire John Wick and Highlander universes for Lionsgate. Dolph Lundgren is saying that Drago movie that got reported a while ago is actually still happening and in development. We'll talk about that. Also, Andor Season 2, Andor, the best thing Star Wars has done since the original trilogy. Apparently, it's a lot closer to being finished than we thought, as they're saying it's going to be done shooting next week. Also, Jonathan Majors had a pretty bad week. He got dropped from that Dennis Rodman movie, and now his movie Magazine Dreams has been dropped by the studio. And according to the star of the show, Tatiana Maslany, good Canadian girl, She-Hulk Season 2 has been canceled. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now.
That was a good delivery.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our good friends over at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also hopefully giving you some background, context, and information so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora. He's been obsessed with this Godzilla power-up sound. Jonathan Boyko is here.
Got a follow-up to that. Hey, guys.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett is here.
I'm looking forward to having a fine time today, John.
As is everybody, because most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day, and here's how the show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics that I listed off. Then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your comments and questions. We already asked our beloved YouTube channel members. And by the way, if you're not a YouTube channel member, consider signing up. We get questions from you guys every day. We also put up an ad-free version of the show every day. Go check it out. But also, if you're watching the show live, and you got to be watching live, if you got a comment or question you want to fire in, go ahead and use the Super Chat feature in the live chat. The Super Chats are still open right now for the next little while. Again, we'll get to those at the end of the show. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, I've talked about this before, but whenever I list off like my top 10 favorite movies of all time, it's different than everybody else's, like all top 10 lists. But every time I list off the movies, people go, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a great one. The one on my list that always gets people to raise their eyebrow and go, wait, what? Is when I say the Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown, Sean Connery classic, The Highlander. I love that movie. I love it passionately. Equally hate the second one, but I love that first one. Well, about gosh, I want to say 10 years ago, maybe more, reports came out that Ryan Reynolds was going to be doing a Highlander reboot. And then they were apparently working on that for years, they said. And then all of a sudden that kind of disappeared. Then a couple of years ago, we heard that Henry Cavill was going to star in a Highlander reboot and was going to be directed by John Wick director Chad Stahelski. And that got a lot of us excited, but things have been very, very quiet on that front. Because again, that announcement was years ago. They keep mentioning it, but we don't see anything. Well, now we've got some tangible movement. This comes to us from the folks at the Hollywood Reporter, who said the following. Chad Stahelski is finally making his long gestating Highlander movie. The director, who's been developing the project for 8 years now, since 2016, and now has it set as his next film. Henry Cavill is attached to star in Highlander, a reimagining of the 1986 film of the same name. Highlander's green light is part of a sweeping new deal Stahelski and Lionsgate announced on Tuesday. The pact will give Chad Stahelski oversight of 2 franchises, Highlander and John Wick. So on a much, much smaller scale, this is kind of like Kevin Feige being given Marvel and Star Wars. Again, significantly smaller scale, but this is really, really big. This dude has now been given the shepherdship, if you will, of 2, hopefully 2, beloved franchises. The John Wick franchise, which has already enjoyed great success. It's not often you get 4 movies in a franchise where each one makes more money than the previous one. And that's been the path of the John Wick franchise. I even kind of liked the Continental series. That was on, what was that, on Peacock?
Peacock.
Yeah, I didn't think it was great, but I liked it. I had a good time with that. Anyway, and of course, the Highlander is finally coming with my man Henry Cavill as Connor McLeod or the Clan McLeod. I cannot wait for this. This is a classic, great story that I think will benefit hugely from modern technology, modern storytelling tropes, set in a more modern world, like in the 2020s instead of the 1980s. I think this is going to be great. Key is going to be Kurgan. And we've heard some whispers about who's going to be Kurgan, but I can't say right now. But anyway, Rob, you hear about this. Apparently, it is finally happening. 8 years in the making. It's his next film up. And he's been given kind of shepherdship, like I said, over it and the John Wick franchise. What do you make of this?
Well, here's the thing, John. Highlander is peak 80s filmmaking. It doesn't get more 80s. The transitions between the present and the past, Russell Mulcahy, the way the movie looks,
The Queen's soundtrack.
score. I mean, everything about it, and part of its appeal is how 80s it is. Now, we also have the fantasy elements of it, the immortal elements of it, which were a little underdeveloped. And you can see the Adrian Paul series went way into that. There's a lot of potential with Highlander. I just think, though, and Selesky's the guy to do it, that you need to make whatever the 21st century equivalent is of that style. You know, and I think like with movies like Bullet Train, you know, Bullet Train I thought was a really stylish, fun,
Very fun film.
very fun movie. Really enjoyed it. You've got to lean into that because if you make you could do a straightforward Highlander story, make it serious, but to make it Highlander, it's got to have that extra. And the guy who brings John Wick to life is the man to do it. So like you, I'm excited about at least Highlander. I think maybe they should call it Highlander Knights of the Old Republic. No, maybe they shouldn't. But I mean, I think
That'll
this
never happen.
I think it's really cool. I mean, the John Wick movies, everyone has made more money than the next. People still love those movies, and there's a great universe to be had there. I mean, maybe some of the people at the high table are actually immortal.
Oh, imagine if they crossed those worlds over.
I mean,
which I don't think they would, but imagine if they crossed over.
But it would
John
suddenly
Wick.
make sense because then you'd understand the high table more. Like,
Oh yeah, a few of them are immortals. They've been around for like 5 centuries.
And that's where they came up with all the coins, and you have to pay.
I now love this idea.
Come on, I mean, why not? And you know what? Shared universe. And the funny thing about it is, why do you think there's so many like the assassins, or where do these people come from? And I mean, I'm not saying they should, but if they did, it's not as outlandish as crossing over, say, the Transformers with the Fast and the Furious franchise. I think Highlander and John Wick, there's a place they could meet.
The one mortal that the immortals are afraid of.
Or
John Wick.
or yeah. Or maybe he doesn't even know.
Wait, that would explain the ending of 4. He
Maybe
wakes up.
He doesn't know he's immortal. John Wick is immortal. Baba Yaga is immortal.
He's like that. Okay, I'm officially loving this idea. Also, don't forget though, like Stileski said a while ago, he made this comment that said it's going to kind of be John Wick with swords. And I know some people got concerned about that, but as a huge Highlander fan, I'm like, yeah, that's what it should be. The big question I still have, and we brought this up before, is, I mean, they already said they're going to reuse some of the Queen soundtrack, which is great.
Yeah.
But they should also update it but what band kind of does the rest of the soundtrack now? Is it like an Imagine Dragons? Is it, I mean, like some modern band? I don't know, but that would be kind of fun.
I mean, it'd be because, you know, Queen was such an arena rock band. It had so many anthems and so many bangers. I don't know if there's the equivalent of Queen.
Not really.
Today.
Not really. There's not really a Queen equivalent.
But maybe they can have, you know, you pick multiple groups, because look, you can't not have some kind of hip hop element in a modern movie. I mean, because there's some, I don't know who
you don't want the film to just feel dated,
right? And it would be, I don't know. It's. I'm just excited for it. I think it's gonna be good. I think Lionsgate, the fact that they're making this kind of deal with him and they're moving forward. How can you not be excited?
Not to mention when they make part 2.
It's got to be better
They're
than
gonna
the
reclaim
original
Zeiss.
part 2.
The planet Zeiss is coming back.
The immortals are actually prisoners from another planet who are condemned to immortality. Anyway,
Ian McShane's immortal.
question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You guys might remember a little while ago, I mean, we all know that Sylvester Stallone has a real problem with the current producers and the owners of the rights of the Rocky franchise. They made that feud very, very public. But while that was going on, a report came out that the producers of the Rocky franchise and the Creed franchise were looking at developing a Drago movie centered around Dolph Lundgren and his son Florian. I never knew how to pronounce his last name, but he was also in Shang-Chi. Dude's a monster. Dude's a beast. Anyway, and then I guess Sylvester Stallone had some words about that, and then Dolph Lundgren got on social media and said, whoa, I had no idea there was any problems there. I just assumed Sly was on board with this, blah, blah. Well, a lot of time has passed, and now Dolph Lundgren is saying that Drago movie that we all kind of wrote off may actually still be coming. This comes from the folks over at Coming Soon who wrote the following. Dolph Lundgren said about the movie, MGM was developing the script called Drago about my character and my son. I think what happened was the studio changed leadership, and then Creed 3 did very well. So they just started preparing for Creed 4. This is last year. And then now there is a problem with a co-star in Creed 4. We all know what that is. That storyline they had on the Drago script was interesting. It was kind of a coming to America kind of immigration angle with me and the son, and it was pretty cool. You know, he goes on to talk about the fact that one of the ideas they pitched to him was that at the beginning of Creed 2, that him and his son are actually in Kiev in the Ukraine. And they talked about the idea that this script is going to kind of incorporate the current war in the Ukraine as an impetus for Drago and his son to permanently try to come to the US, kind of make it a little bit of an immigration story. Listen, I'm not a big spin-off guy, and I am notorious, and I call myself out on it, and I admit it. When they announced Creed, I thought it was one of the stupidest ideas I ever heard. You want to do a Rocky movie where Rocky's not the main guy. And it's not even like the real Creed. It's the seed of Creed. You know, I thought
The seed of Creed.
Seed of Creed.
Creed seed.
Creed seed. That's another spin-off you could do. But I thought it was a stupid idea. And then I saw it. Well, then I found out that Ryan Coogler was directing it and Michael B. Jordan was in it. And then I saw it and I fell in love with it. Love the films, all that kind of stuff. And I gotta say, although the screen time is limited, I was fascinated by the story of Drago and his son. Like, even just the character without dialogue, the character work that was happening during that big final fight, where Drago himself is like, my son is more important to me than my vendettas, than my beefs, than whatever perceived glory or wrongs, and he throws in the towel to protect his son. Like, that was a massive story arc for a character. And the idea of having a Creed-like movie, but about them, because, you know, in Creed 3, at the beginning of it, they were kind of setting up that Drago was going to be the next guy. The young Drago was going to be the next champion. He was going to kind of take that over. I mean, he beat the hell out of Creed earlier. So I got to tell you what, I don't think this is going to happen. All right, let me go on record. I don't think this is going to happen. But mark me down as being interested in this. I think this could be an interesting story. Anyway, Rob, you read this. What do you think?
Well, like you, first of all, who doesn't like Dolph Lundgren? You know, he's actually very intelligent, very educated.
Doesn't he have like 3 master's degrees or something like that?
Yeah, and I think he's got a great screen presence. I like the way he looks. I like the sound of his voice. And the fact that I think Rocky 4 is my second, behind Rocky 5, it's my least favorite Rocky movie.
Oh, I love Rocky 4.
But you know, it was too much of
You're
was too montagey, and it didn't give me what I
I like three
liked.
much
It was a
more than
product
4.
of the era that the movie was made.
Yes, but I liked his character. You know, I like what he represented, and I think, look, once you've made Creed work 3 times, doing a Drago movie and adding depth and adding character development, a father-son story, make it an immigration story, all of these things are ripe to explore as far as drama goes and as far as, you know, the Rocky movies are concerned. It's amazing that the Rocky franchise is still continuing. 6 Rocky movies, 3 Creed movies. This might be the 10th movie in the franchise for Rocky. I mean, it's crazy. But I like the idea. And why not? If it's good, look, if it's good, I'll watch it. And this like you, I was dubious about Creed, but I really liked Creed. I thought it was a terrific movie.
But if they do this, whether they do Creed 4 or do this Drago movie, someone's going to have to still explain to me how Apollo Creed's wife died and Rocky didn't bother to show up to their funeral. I mean, someone's still going to have to explain that to me. Like, even I know you could get Sylvester Stallone there. Have a body double with the camera from behind wearing the classic hat that Rocky. I just thought that was really weird. That was one of the weirder moments of the movie.
Yeah, he probably didn't get directions to it. So
get directions.
He was just off camera, Joe.
So Rob, I need to ask you something. So you represent murder and drug use? Because that's what Drago did in Rocky 4.
Okay, I
Murder
understand
and
murder.
It was in the
murder
ring.
in the ring? Come on, he murdered.
He should have been doping.
intentionally
He
come
should have been doping, but that was because the Soviets were still the evil empire, which they're turning back into.
Oh yeah, they
But
were
at the
making
time-
him do that. Right?
That do you guys see that being a problem? Well, right now with what's going on,
Drugs and murder? No, not at
overseas,
all.
Like Russia and things, like making a movie.
Well,
That,
I think that could make it interesting because you don't make it about the geopolitical issue.
Right.
You make it about the personal story of somebody escaping that.
Here's
right?
yeah. Here's my problem with the film. His son. Who are you gonna get that's believable that could beat this kid? This guy is a mountain of muscle. I know in real boxing, muscle doesn't mean anything. Actually, it's actually not good for you most of the time. But in the Rocky world, Drago's punches changes lives. If Creed goes on, if we get Creed 5 where he gets older, the reason why if he goes dumb, it's gonna be because of
The beating Drago put on.
Drago, not what's his name? Damien, the guy
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors play. Not the first guy he fought. It's gonna be because of Drago. So who are they gonna get that's gonna actually look like a good fight with
You.
Drago? Nobody. There's
You.
nobody.
Yeah, at the gym, Ray.
No, this guy's a big rock of muscle. I mean,
He's and I like seeing this guy on screen. I
Yeah.
really, whether it was in Shang-Chi or this, and I hope he gets more stuff. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, the Emmys just happened, and it was so good to see. Holy crap, a Star Wars show, Andor, getting nominated in all the most prestigious of the categories, including, and it was unimaginable a while ago, but including Best Drama Series of the Year, being nominated against Succession, being nominated against House of the Dragon, being nominated against all the best shows of the year. Andor's up there. I consider, you've heard me say it a lot, season 1 of Andor is the best thing Star Wars has ever done since the original trilogy. Not as good as the original trilogy, but since then, and there's a few Star Wars things I love, but I think Andor season 1 is just the top of the mountain other than the original trilogy. And we've been really anxiously awaiting about when's the season 2 thing going to happen. And I was kind of caught off guard when I heard Diego Luna say, oh yeah, we're practically done. This comes to us from the folks at CBR who wrote the following. Andor star Diego Luna finally shared a new production update for the highly anticipated season 2 of the hit Star Wars series Andor. The good thing about Andor, he said, is we know it has an ending. It's nice to work knowing there's an ending. You can aim for something, Luna said, as he teased the epic end of the Disney Plus series. I have 7 days left to shoot. Tomorrow, I'm flying back to London, and we're finishing this. All right. Rob, you know my word. Tangibilization.
Yes.
It's now like it's real, like knowing. A lot of this has gone under the radar for me about keeping up to date with its production status and stuff like that. And I honestly didn't know, how far along they were or whatever. But to hear that they're now like less than a week away now from when he made that statement of season 2 being shot, and then all they got to do is finish off the post-production. We know they shoot. There's not going to be as much post-production to go into this as is something like House of the Dragon, whatever. They shoot this all on practical sets. They do all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what, I don't expect that we'll get it. Well, maybe there's a slight hope we get it at the end of 2024. Probably more realistic beginning of 2025. But the fact that it's this far along, I love this. The question I have, though, Rob, is with the first season being as brilliant as it is, and that one scene, which I think on its own should have won an Emmy, that Skarsgård scene, where he talks about, I give my life for a sunset I know I'll never see. Right? That whole speech that he gives, it's one of the best moments of television I've ever seen. I just thought that was incredible. What challenges does an Andor season 2 face? Can they meet that high bar that they set with season 1? And when do you expect we might actually get this thing dropping on Disney Plus?
Well, like you, I think it's probably going to be 2025 because there's going to be a lot of post-production. I would imagine a lot of visual effects, a lot of work is going to be involved in this. But I think here's the thing: even though he says that they know that there's an ending, it has to have. I think the end has to end with some kind of a accomplishment of some kind for the characters. Because the show has to work as a show too. Now we know tragically, maybe they'll have a great victory. So whatever they're pulling off, because I think the second season, it's going to be blocks of 3 episodes, and they're going to be, each episode is going to be like a year,
right,
or a year apart or something like that. So I would imagine the whole season is about putting into effect a master plan of some kind that's going to bridge the season, and whatever that's going to be, we're going to see the accomplishment of it or the failure of it at the end of the show. Either way, I mean, I don't know what that might be, but I'm excited. We know that the Death Star is probably going to play into it somehow. We'll probably see cameos of some kind, but I love this show so much. And I think that what's going to be, John, I hope they go back and revisit Rogue One and maybe give us an extended version because we know that, it was darker. By the way, if I can plug the new Designing Hollywood that went up on this channel this morning, I interviewed Greg Fraser, who was the director of photography of Rogue One. And he tells some good Rogue One stories about the making.
And not just Rogue One. He was also the cinematographer of The Batman and a few other
and Dune 1 and 2. He's got Dune 2 coming in, and Creator. But he tells some really interesting stories that I didn't know. But look, I'm really excited for this. As far as Star Wars is concerned, this is the most exciting thing I think that is coming down the pike that we know of. And we know it's actually getting made.
Yeah, this is actually happening.
No
question marks like this supposed Rey movie or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm super, super excited for this. All right, guys, listen. We still got to talk about a very bad week for Jonathan Majors, and he just had his film that was having some awards buzz just get dropped by the studio. Also, if you're looking forward to She-Hulk Season 2, I'm sure there are some of you out there. Bad news, it sounds like it's been canceled. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, my mobile service provider, and they absolutely should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. On average, it takes about 30 days for a person to break their New Year's resolution. So if saving money was on your 2024 list, your odds aren't looking that great. Luckily, I have a 100% guaranteed way to save you money this year. Just switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month. I've told you guys many times that after switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my cell bill than I used to with a major carrier. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All Mint plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And don't worry about having to change phones or numbers. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Hasn't been a good week for Jonathan Majors. Let's face it, hasn't been a good year. Wasn't a good year for Jonathan Majors. It just recently, too, compounding on top of the fact that he got convicted on a couple of the charges he was facing. He's acquitted on a couple of the charges as well, but convicted on a couple. He hasn't been sentenced yet. But earlier this week, it got announced that he was supposed to be starring in this movie about Dennis Rodman. He officially got dropped from that. And now he's had this movie that's done, complete, in the can, was supposed to come out in late 2023 called Magazine Dreams. A movie that a lot of people were given some very enthusiastic awards buzz to. Some people saying it was the best performance of Jonathan Majors' career. I had not seen it, but it did play at Sundance. Well, of course, the studio decided to postpone on releasing it till they saw what happened with the trial. The trial had its results. And now apparently the studio has dropped the film and it's back on the market. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, who write the following. Jonathan Majors' magazine Dreams is officially back on the market. Nearly a year after Searchlight Pictures acquired the bodybuilding drama, the specialty arm of Walt Disney Studios has quietly returned the rights of the movie to the filmmakers, who will now shop it to other buyers. The move comes mere weeks after Majors was convicted of assault and harassment stemming from an incident involving his ex-partner Grace Jabari. Searchlight delivered the news to the magazine Dreams team late last week, and it would not be releasing the film, according to sources. All right, so not only did Majors get dropped from that, and of course we've talked in the past couple of months a number of projects that Jonathan was dropped from. Now this movie that we were all kind of interested to see what would happen. I kind of thought Disney would just quietly drop it on Disney Plus or Hulu, to be honest with you. But apparently it's now gone back on the market. So that means it's a free agent. Other studios, streamers, whatever, can come around and put in a bid to pick it up. However, I don't know if right now there's going to be hot and heavy bidding for this project. And if there is bidding, it's going to be lowball. It's like putting your Corvette on the market and hoping to get, a $150,000 offer. Only word got out that there's no engine, and all of a sudden you're getting a $5,000 offer on the car. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to be the reality for Magazine Dreams right now. Now, listen, I've been on record that I do think Jonathan Majors' career can recover eventually. I made an entire editorial video very specifically going through, and you can find it on the channel, specifically going through exactly what it was and what the charges were that he was found guilty of. And as importantly, if not even more importantly, what the jury determined he was not guilty of. For example, the jury determined that Jonathan Majors did not intentionally harm anybody. They ruled that he did harm somebody, but they said it was not intentional. It wasn't his intent. It was through reckless behavior, and that's led to that and all that kind of stuff. And he needs to be held accountable for it, and he is being held accountable. But because of that, I do believe in the long run, I think his career will be able to rebound at some point. But it's not today. And there are going to be some people who don't understand business, who are going to cry foul. And I say this as a big fan of Jonathan Majors' talent and his as an actor. But there are going to be some people say, it's not fair that Searchlight dropped the movie. Guys, fair has nothing to do with it. This is business. And it's not about what does Jonathan Majors deserve or not deserve. It's not about any of that. It's just a business where this studio is now looking at this product they have, and that's what a movie is. It's a product. It's a piece of art, but a product nonetheless. And they say, we think this is going to cause us more problems. It's not a judgment on Jonathan Majors. It's not a judgment on anybody. It's just that from a business point of view, this project is going to cause us problems. We can't put a lot of marketing money into it. We're going to have, some backlash come back at us if we release it. So it's just in our best interest, has nothing to do with Jonathan Majors. It's just in our best interest right now to not be associated with the project. So we are going to let it go. And let it go back on the market. We're going to return it to the filmmakers and they can go shop it around. But Rob, I don't know what kind of market there's going to be for Magazine Dreams. I mean, maybe somebody with some foresight can look at this and go, you know what? We can probably pick this up for a steal right now, like at 5% of their original asking price. And then let's sit on it for 2 years and then release it in a couple of years. That way we've got this bargain basement price, awards quality film. And maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years when the smoke is settled, we'll mount a little bit of a campaign. We'll release it on Netflix, Paramount Plus, release it theatrically, whatever. But I just don't think it's going to get a lot of action right now. What do you think is going to come of this?
First of all, let me just say that I don't want to make light of Jonathan Majors' situation, but I'm thinking about Elijah Byram. Who is Elijah Byram? He's the writer-director of this film. And I can't, some
people were saying he was going to be the next big thing as a result of this movie.
I can, as an independent filmmaker, I know how hard it is, one, to get a movie made, to try and to raise funds for a movie, and then to make a film that is not only great, considered great in the festival circuit, but gets picked up by Searchlight, which is one of the most prestigious, one of the most Academy Award-winning indie film acquisition and distributors that we've ever seen. This filmmaker, I don't know how long it took him to get the movie made. It could have been the result of years of work. To make the film he made and to have it get the response it got, and then to have it picked up for distribution is the realization of a lifelong dream.
Yeah.
And I can't, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot, and all the people that worked on this film does not have 1 million producers. It has 4. And so the people that got this movie made really believed in it. And I keep thinking about them, that they did their jobs. They won. And then to have victory snatched away from them like this, I really, and the rest of the cast and crew, as Kane says, it really bums me out because it's so hard to make it in this business. And here's somebody that did it, and because of the power of what happened is completely out of his hands. I understand, and people need to be punished for their actions. But I just can't stop thinking about the people that made this film.
And we've seen that a lot in the last couple of years, right? Like where people who poured their blood, sweat, and tears, tens, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who pour their blood, sweat, and tears into a project, and then all of a sudden that project gets poisoned or sullied, if you will, because of the actions of one person that then kind of makes the project undesirable to the companies that would come along and support it, which really sucks for those people.
No, it really does. And I my heart breaks for them. But I mean, luckily it could have been thrown away, could have been put on a shelf. And the fact that
they could have Batgirled it.
Yeah. And they could have. And the fact that Searchlight gave the film back, I think they know how good it can be. It's just Disney as a company can't be seen as releasing this film. Maybe another company will pick it up.
What do you think ultimately? Like, again, I have a theory that I don't think anybody's going to pick it up and release it right now.
No.
I think, and this is, again, it's too bad for the producers of this movie because they're going to get ripped off now because they're going to have to sell the rights to this at a bargain basement cheapo price. And then someone's going to take it. And what I think is going to happen, somebody, whether it's a Paramount, a Universal, a Netflix, whatever, are going to pick it up and then sit on it for a couple of years. Do you see that happening?
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And the real tragedy of all this is Jonathan Majors is an electrifying performer. When he's good, he's really, really good.
I'll say he's Oscar caliber.
His physical presence in this movie, he turned into a monster to do this film. I mean, physically, he looks fantastic. And I really was looking forward to seeing this film. You don't hear a movie that has this kind of buzz, and it just bums me out all the way around.
All right, guys. Question is, what do you think is going to happen with this film? Forget what you think should happen or shouldn't happen, what's fair, what's not fair. Those are irrelevant questions. What will happen, do you think? I kind of think somebody will pick it up for a bargain basement price and maybe release it in a couple of years. Maybe there's an avenue for it to get released right away. I don't know. Whatever you think, let us know. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? She-Hulk... It says something about the project, right? When all you got to do is say the title and everybody snickers. She-Hulk, I will stand by this, was a show with a lot of promise. And on paper, could have been great. A Ally McBeal style legal procedural about a girl who is now struggling not just with her law career, but struggling with the new reality of superpowers. And then how does that affect her daily life? Like something as simple as dating. In theory and on paper, I think that is the makings for a banger show. That could be a great show. And the first episode came out, and I thought, okay, we saw some of the manifestation of that promise. I thought the first episode was pretty good. But, as I've said many times in this show, you can do everything right on a comedy, but if you do not make it funny, ain't nothing going to save you. And unfortunately for She-Hulk, the show is just not funny. Now, humor is the most subjective of all things. Maybe some of you guys did find it funny, and if so, that's great. I celebrate that. But for me, somebody who was excited about the show, again, you got an Emmy Award-winning actress in Tatiana Maslany, good Canadian girl, coming out there and doing the thing. I thought there was a lot of promise. I was excited about this show. And they just kept cracking jokes that just kept making my face go, huh? What? Is that supposed to be funny? And don't get me wrong, there were a couple of moments. Daredevil doing the big walk of shame. Thought that was one of the funniest things I've seen on TV in a year. But one or two scenes does not a series make, and it just fell flat. And if you're a comedy that's not funny, you're dead. And it was kind of surprising that after the show was done, there were immediate reports that Disney was looking to develop a season 2. But according to Tatiana Maslany herself, sounds like that ain't going to happen. This comes from CBR, who wrote the following. Tatiana Maslany was asked about the chances fans will see She-Hulk Season 2 after it was reportedly in development at Marvel Studios. However, the actress downplayed the possibility, suggesting the Disney Plus series most likely won't get the go-ahead for Season 2 due to budget concerns. I don't think so, she said. I think we blew our budget and Disney was like, no thanks. So, a couple of things I want to address. By the way, she looks great there with her Emmy Award. She looks fantastic. It was an expensive show. It was a really expensive show. And clearly, after they spent all the money on the visual effects, they had nothing left to pay some decent comedy writers. But it was a very, very expensive show, which means that the bar for success just got higher. You make this show for $50 million instead of $250 million, the bar for success is lower, right? The expectations aren't as high. You achieve certain things at $50 million, that's good enough. At $250, it's not. And producing an unfunny comedy at $250 million is not going to get the job done. It generated a lot of bad buzz. It became the latest on a pile of underwhelming Marvel Cinematic Universe product that we've been getting accustomed to getting lately. It lowered the bar. And with something like that, Disney can't look at that and even say, look, even if they cut 40% of the budget and say, did season 2 for $150 million? No. And I'll tell you what, in as much as I said that I think this show was a failure, it was tried to be a comedy that just wasn't funny, I was still kind of hoping to see a season 2 because, again, the premise had promise. You bring in the right writers and the right comedy writers who know how to make this stuff funny and make us laugh and get us on board with it, the premise itself could have worked. You actually fulfill that promise of making an Ally McBeal in the MCU, gold could be there. So even though I hated the first season, I thought there was at least potential that maybe with the right people, you could have turned it around. But if I'm at the board of Disney and they come in and say, we need to put it to a vote, do we do a season 2 of She-Hulk? I'm saying no. So I'm not surprised. I feel bad for people who did enjoy the first season. There are more people than you think who actually enjoyed season 1. And I feel bad for those people, but I get why they're pulling the plug on it. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this. We had heard that they were still going to develop a season 2, which I thought there could still be some hope and potential. You surprised to hear Tatiana Maslany saying, nah, it's not going to happen?
No, I was really looking forward to this show, and I thought it was one of the most witless, poorly written, poorly conceived television shows, genre shows that I've ever seen, because it was all right there. You described exactly what the show should be. If you go back and you consult the John Byrne run, the fourth wall breaking run of She-Hulk, all of it is right there. And I felt that the writers decided, yeah, we're not going to do that. Like, they wanted to do their own thing, and their own thing didn't work at all because they didn't have a thing. And it was so frustrating to watch this show because it promised one thing, and the comic book already laid out what kind of a show it could be. And I was really looking forward to that Ally McBeal within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean when a lawyer becomes a superhero and has to deal with, she gets recruited simply because a law firm wants to get into superhero cases, make some more money, and you're our front person. There was so much there that it writes itself. And it's almost as if the writing staff pushed back against all of that and said, no, we're not going to do that. As if they'd never read comic books before and never understood the premise or the potential. And I found it so frustrating to watch. And I watched every episode. We talked about every episode on this show. And it made me angry. And they had Tatiana Maslany. They had the perfect actress.
Perfect for it.
The perfect
Absolutely
actress.
perfect for it.
And
100%.
she was given nothing. I mean, she's a great actress and she's a deft comedian. She could have done anything. And for me, this show is an ultimate failure of writing, and it shows when a showrunner has no concept of what they're supposed to be doing.
You know what is the scene that kind of embodies what I think everything that went wrong with She-Hulk was? Do you remember that one episode where they had this one client who's kind of an immortal guy, I guess, and he's got like 18 ex-wives.
Yeah.
And they're all like lining up to sue him, right? Okay. Again, in premise, there's some good stuff you can do there.
Sure.
But as you sat and watched that episode, all these jokes that they were writing, everything that they were putting on paper that they thought, and pause here for when the audience laughs, it was dull, it was predictable, it was lowest hanging fruit, and it just wasn't funny at all. So instead of a really cool, because you could only do this in the MCU, you couldn't do this on Amick Beale. A guy who's got all these lifespans because of his powers. He's got like these 18 women that he's married and then mysteriously ditched and ghosted. There's some really cool stuff you could do with that. And they utterly failed. A, on premise. F, on execution. And it's just, that's why there was a part of me that was still kind of hoping that, maybe there's an argument to do a season 2. Clean out the writer's room, bring in people with actual comedy experience.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Get Larry David in. Just let Larry David run the fucking writer's room. And I think it could have been good, but it just fell on its face.
Here's a show, like I always complain about Star Trek Lower Decks or something, but here's a show that could have benefited from a Rick and Morty or an Archer sensibility. With a writing staff that totally understands the genre, understands comics, understands all of these things, and could have made this work. And I felt that the writing staff on this show was like completely mismatched to the material.
Yeah. 100%.
Witless. Witless is the word that comes to mind all the
maybe
time.
what makes it frustrating too is you look at Disney Plus, and we've documented a lot of the failures that they've had at Disney Plus, but you look at them right now, right? They've got this Percy Jackson show, which is really good.
It's really good.
So it becomes even more frustrating when you look at it and you say, you clearly can make some top-notch stuff, because I think Percy Jackson's been delightful. Like, why can't you bring that same passion and that same commitment and that same, attention to detail with hiring the right people? Like, hey, if we're going to make a comedy, let's fill a room with comedy writers. I don't know. It's really frustrating. It's sad to hear. I hope Tatiana gets another crack at playing the character somewhere in the MCU, maybe in somebody else's show, maybe on the big screen. I don't know. Maybe she pops up in Secret Invasion. I have no idea, but I think she got done dirty. I think Tatiana Maslany really got done dirty. Anyway, guys, what do you think about all this? Jump on down in the comments and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, it's time for us to go over and start taking your observations, comments, theories, and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another second here and thank a couple of more sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp and Mando. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Guys, it's a brand new year, and a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions, things they want to change about themselves. But I've always believed that it's also equally as important to identify the things we're doing well and building on those. And therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. I've always believed that nothing impacts our daily performance in our jobs, our hobbies, our relationships like our mental health. And I've also said for a long time that it's about time that we stop just putting emphasis on improving our physical health by getting out to the gym, but also by putting emphasis on improving our mental health as well. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you gotta do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So guys, celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mando. Mando Whole Body Deodorant is the all-terrain vehicle of deodorants. It goes everywhere. Put it in your pits, package, feet, back, knees, everywhere. Because something all of us guys know is that body odor happens all over your body. So why are we just putting on deodorant in our pits? Mando is powerful. It's clinically proven to control odor everywhere, but gentle enough to use in your sensitive bits too. Just try Mando's cologne quality scents and smell the difference from your underarms to your underballs. And a special offer for John Campea Show audience members, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use the code Campea at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. I have been loving using Mando because it goes on smooth, it feels clean, and it leaves me smelling great. Mando's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, and it is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. And Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mint body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And again, as a special offer for John Campea Show audience members, new customers get $5 off a Mando starter pack with the code Campea at shopmando.com. Ah, Japanese girls. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp. You totally out of context. You have no idea what we're talking about. And Mando
all good, though.
For sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over to your questions, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up here first?
We've got Damaris Love, who says, will the Super Bowl show other studios' movie trailer since it's streaming on Paramount Plus?
Yeah, every network is associated with the studio, and every year various studios will have their advertisements play. So yeah, and by the way, it's not only streaming on Paramount Plus. So yes, you will see any studio that wants to advertise and pay the whatever it is, $7 million for a 30-second spot or whatever, you will see those trailers.
Which network has it?
What's that?
Which network has it?
Well, if it's also going to stream on Paramount Plus, I'm going to guess it's CBS.
CBS, right?
That's
Okay.
going to be my guess at any rate, so maybe. All right, what's next?
Yeah, we got some support from Rudy, and then
Thank
James
you, Rudy.
Wheeler. Yeah, and then James Wheeler with a $20 super chat.
Thank you, James.
Hey everyone, speaking of Tatiana Maslany, I forgot she was in Eastern Promises. I totally forgot that too.
I completely forgot that.
Watched again last night and still love. So good.
You know what?
Really good.
In a world and in a Hollywood where fight scenes and action scenes are glamorized and shock, pow, bam, I still remember Eastern Promises, that freaking bathroom fight.
It was intense.
It was so intense because it felt so real. Like that's what a fight like that would be like. Right? It's an incredible movie. I completely didn't know Tatiana Maslany was in that. I have to go back now. See, where was she?
Is she the lawyer? No.
She had to be too young.
Yeah, she must have been really young.
Yeah, I gotta have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, me
Great
too.
movie though. Great movie. All right, what's next?
John Redcorn says, I like the She-Hulk character and hope we see her again, but the show was just unwatchable, so not going to miss it. And they've completely devalued Hulk.
Well, listen, the devaluing Hulk, that had nothing to do with She-Hulk. Like that, they were doing that in the MCU long before She-Hulk came out. So as much as I complain about Family Barbecue attending Hawaiian shirt wearing Hulk, they put him on the path to that long before She-Hulk. So you can't blame She-Hulk for that. But I agree. I thought the character was interesting. Again, I'll go back to the premise of the show. An Ally McBeal style show where this girl suddenly, unwantingly, gets these superpowers and now is struggling with even the idea of being a woman with these powers, working in a legal field, and trying to navigate life, family, and dating. That's gold. And I think Tatiana Maslany brought all the charm and heart to it that you needed to have in the character. I agree with you. I like the character.
Me too.
I just disliked the show. Wong excluded. The Wong stuff was delightful.
Well, yes.
But yeah, it's
Madison.
the character was good, show bad. And it's unfortunate that it worked out that way. All right, what's next?
We got support from Rudy, and then Raymond Verada says, since the VFX budget of She-Hulk was pricey, can the show go old school? Lou Ferrigno style. Tatiana did post on IG that she has a She-Hulk double.
Okay, first of all, bring up that quote graphic I got on my screen again.
Oh, okay. Let me bring that
Yeah,
up.
if we've got that set up. But I don't know if you can tell from, maybe you can, I don't know if you can turn my picture off or not, but maybe you can just tell from what's up there. Tatiana in shape. Like you look at her arms and her shoulders, and like this girl is in shape. You can't just slap green paint on her and make her She-Hulk. She-Hulk is like 7'2" and like not human. So no, you can't go old school. It ain't the 1978s anymore.
And nobody would buy it.
No, nobody would go for it. I mean, I like where you're thinking is like, is there a way to like chop the production of this into 75% less? But yeah, that's not one of the options, unfortunately. As great a shape as Tatiana's in, I don't think you can do
They could do it as like a meta joke on not now the show's gone.
But you know what
And
it'll
then
look
like
like?
cut, be like, oh wait, this isn't right. Look at the camera somehow.
It'll look like Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel's dad. That's what, remember that
But they do it
episode?
as a joke,
That's
I'm
what it would
saying.
look like, right?
Yeah, I'm saying they do it as a joke.
But I don't know. You can do it as a joke for a scene. I don't think you can do it as a
No,
series, though.
not
The
beyond that.
meta-ness of it wears off, I
Yeah.
think. All right, what's next?
No, it was just like a broken fourth wall there. Kyle Schneider writes, hey, John, if I'm not wrong, you still need to see Poor Things. But are you still going to give us your top 10 of 2023 after you see it?
Nope.
That's
Too
come
late.
and gone.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people get upset with me, boo-hoo. But like I got a couple of rules for myself. If for whatever reason, whether I'm traveling sick or whatever, if I don't get around to seeing a movie in the first 3 days that it's out, I don't review it. And it's now weeks since the end of 2023. It's too late for me to do a top 10 of 2023 or anything like that. So it sucks. I wish I had, but I didn't, and it's too late for me to do it. So no, I'm not going to do one. All right, what's next?
Miguel says, hey, guys, greetings from Toronto. Not sure if you guys talked about it, but thoughts on the Spaceman trailer with Sandler. I'm excited for this performance.
Yeah, we chatted about it a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I am excited for the movie. What I said yesterday, I'm excited for the movie because it's Adam Sandler doing what he should be doing at this point in his career, leaning into his insane dramatic chops. He's so good. And so I'm excited to see the movie. I didn't think the trailer was all that great, to be honest with you. It sets up the premise, which I think is an interesting premise. I didn't think it was all that great of a trailer, but I am excited to see the movie. What did you think about it? I forgot.
Well, you know, the director of it directed Johan Rennick, and he directed Chernobyl. And he's he's an incredible director, and I liked the trailer. It reminded me of one of my favorite books of last year, which was Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. He wrote a book called Project Hail Mary. That's one of my favorite science fiction novels. I mean, I read it in one sitting. It's an amazing book. Kind of reminded me of that, but it looked really intriguing to me. I'm wondering, is that creature even real?
Well, I mean, that's going to be the big question for everybody, right? And they're probably not even going to answer the question by the end of the movie. It's going to be left up to interpretation.
It's going to be like
Was
a
the
Solaris
spider
2001 ending kind of a thing. But I thought it looked really, really good. It was intriguing, and it definitely, that's a must watch for me. I can't wait to see it. And kudos for Adam Sandler making a film like that. You know, and his co-star, I mean, obviously we're seeing her in Maestro now, and I love her. So.
All right, what's next?
Kyler says, too many recent Marvel projects have had world-changing events that didn't change the world.
This is part of the problem, and I've been talking about this since the early 2010s. One of the big problems about shared cinematic universe in particular, but also just superhero movies and stuff, is when you fail to change gears. See, one of the things Marvel did early, Rob, that was one of the keys to their success, was their movies were constantly changing gears, right? Like, save the city, save the world, save my family, and so movies were changing gears like all the time. So it always kept it fresh. It kept us on our toes. But what Marvel has fallen into in the last number of years is at some point, it's about saving reality, saving the world, saving the multiverse. Like everything is just that. And they just don't know how to change gears anymore. She-Hulk could have been that, right? So they had the right idea that She-Hulk was going to be, hey, she's not saving the universe or the multiverse. She's trying to figure out dating when she's a 7'2" green muscle machine. Okay, great. Change of gears. Unfortunately, it kind of flopped. But they got to get back to that, making movies again that are about saving the girl, saving the family, saving the neighborhood, saving a scientist, saving a whatever, save the cheerleader, save the world. I mean, they got to get back to changing these gears up because we've just become desensitized to oh no, what's the next threat that's threatening all of reality? Because that seems to be their only card they play anymore. All right, what's next?
We got Jay Loco. Wow, Marty was right. Never doubt him. Killers is cinema greater than Marvel DC of 2023. This weekend I'm going to watch it again. Hey Ray, 3.5 hours flies by, my boy. Well,
No, it doesn't.
When Ray's asleep, it does.
No, listen. It's a Killers is a fabulous movie. It does not. The 3.5 hours do not fly by, but it is a fabulous movie.
They do not.
But I mean, yeah, but there's not a high bar to say that it's better than anything DC or Marvel in 2023. I would list a couple of Marvel films that I think are better than Killers of the Flower Moon. Not from 2023, and not from 2022. But yeah, listen. Whatever you think, whatever position you take about, I'll be frank, some of the stupid things that Martin Scorsese said, none of that takes away that he is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And when he makes a movie, you damn well better pay attention to it, even if it's 3.5 hours long. He's just one of the all-time greats and always will be, whether he likes comic book movies or not. All right, what's next?
Dr. Stinky says, John and crew watched At Eternity's Gate for the first time.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and that film is amazing. One of the best films I've seen in a while.
Well, I take it. I was thinking of Heaven's Gate. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
There's a documentary about Heaven's Gate, but yeah.
Which one is Eternity's Gate?
I don't know. I when he said At Eternity's Gate,
yeah,
is
I
it
was
a new
thinking
movie?
Heaven's Gate for a second, but I don't know which movie we're talking about, to be honest with you. I've forgotten.
Oh, it has Willem Dafoe. Oh, he's playing. Oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, is the artist?
On the
Is he
artist,
playing
Vincent
Picasso?
Van Gogh.
Vince Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. Okay.
That was called Eternity's Gate?
At Eternity's Gate, yeah.
I thought it had a completely different title.
I have
Anyhow.
not seen it, but heck, I'd watch it.
By the way, you know what Willem Dafoe movie came out that I never did see and I was really... Do you remember the trailers came out for this Willem Dafoe movie?
Room or whatever.
Yes, where he was a burglar.
Yeah.
And he was hired to break into
It
a
was
place
out for
and then
2
he couldn't
weeks.
get out.
It was such a small release.
Yeah, I like it. Poof, came and
Yeah.
went, and I don't have had a chance to
He
see
was
it.
on Larry Mantle yesterday, Air Talk on NPR here in LA. Great interview with him. I listened to it on the way here.
People are
and,
saying in the live chat are saying it was called Inside.
Oh, inside, not
Inside.
the room. Yeah, a room. Yeah.
not to be confused with the French banger horror film called
that
Inside.
That is horrible.
It's so good.
That's the first film where I actually felt sick to my stomach, and
Oh.
especially the ending. Like,
Oh,
physically
the
sick.
ending is the best.
Oh my god, I can't believe you just reminded
And it stars Betty Blue.
What's the name of it?
Inside.
Oh.
All right, what's
So
next?
nasty, man.
good.
Kyler's back. Succession, Yellowstone, House of the Dragon are all remakes of The Godfather, just with a different setting.
Yes and no. Let's not pretend The Godfather, which is the greatest gangster movie of all time, but let's not pretend The Godfather is the first gangster film. Let's not pretend that even the great Godfather wasn't influenced by other things. Well, I see Yellowstone more as Sons of Anarchy on horses. That's kind of how I see it. But
Even Coppola said that when he took over The Godfather and was rewriting it, he made it a movie about a king and his 3 sons.
yeah.
That just happened to be
Yep.
set in the world of the mafia.
By the way, a bunch of people asked me because what we were just talking about a minute ago. Do I think Across the Spider-Verse was better than Killers of the Flower Moon? Yes. I still think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the best movie of the year. So that means I think it's better than Killers of the I also think it's better than Oppenheimer. There you go. I think it's the best movie of the year, but there you go. All right.
Come on.
What's next?
All right. The Cinema says, have you seen the trailer for Freud's Last Session with Anthony Hopkins as Sigmund Freud and Matthew Good as C.S. Lewis?
Did they not show us a little clip of that at
I think they
CinemaCon
did.
last year?
You know, I really wanted to see it, but then I heard a review of it or read a review of it, and it said that neither character is written the way they would actually talk. And I've read a lot of C.S. Lewis. You know, I've read a
lot of C.S. Lewis.
You know, I read Mere Christianity. I read the Screw Tape Letters, and then he wrote a science fiction trilogy, Out of the Silent Planet, That Hideous Strength, and Paralandra, and then Narnia books. And I mean, and his nonfiction stuff about religion's really worth reading, whether you're a Christian or not. Really good stuff.
All right. What's next?
Downwell writes, how do you feel about the rumor Avengers 5 shoots in late 24?
I mean, it's not an unbelievable thing when you consider how long it would take. You're probably talking about a lot of movies you shoot in 2 months. An Avengers level movie you shoot in 4, 5, or 6 months. And then whatever post-production goes into that. And then they're aiming for what, 2026 for the first one to come out?
Yeah.
That's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Who are the Avengers?
We still don't
Oh,
know.
who are they?
Who's in the Avengers?
Who's on the lunchbox?
I have no idea. But it's not a crazy thought that if they want something like that to be ready to go in 2026, that starting production in something like a late 2024, I still think it'll be later than that, but it's not inconceivable. All right, what's next?
Inconceivable. Amin writes, Disney already released their 2024 Disney Plus release calendar, and it didn't include Andor Season 2. I still hope they can squeeze it out by the end of the year. That's probably going to be 25, right?
Yeah, but Disney also had Star Wars Celebration where they announced all the upcoming movies, and none of them was Mandalorian. And then all of a sudden, that's the next movie shooting. Well, again, look, I don't anticipate it's going to come out in 2024. But I believe there's a possibility it could. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but we'll see.
I mean, it depends how many. If they have 12 episodes, I can't imagine they're going to finish them all in the time allotted in a year. That's a lot of time for a Star Wars post-production schedule to be compacted into.
Is it? Because remember, they shot a bunch of this before the writer's strike happened and before the actor strike, right?
Oh, that's true.
And this is one of those things where they're doing post-production.
Yeah, that's true. But still,
as production is going on, and we're still we're just a little under a full year away from the end of 2024.
It used to be that a 2-hour Star Wars movie took 3 years, then it took 2 years, but they've got 12. They've got the equivalent of 6 Star Wars movies to finish.
But not the same budget or same scale.
No.
It's a lot of practical sets. I don't know. I think they could be ready by the end of 2024, but again, if I had to put $5 on it, I'd say it's going to come out in first quarter 2025, my guess. All right, what's next?
Gostop. Hi crew, with Monarch being over now. It was great. What are your thoughts on the show? How it ties in with the movies? Where do you think the story may be going? Has season 2 been announced? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
The show was fantastic. It lived up to all of my hopes. It was a truly wonderful show. I loved the characters. I loved the human. I loved the fact that even like one of your Hiroshi was so flawed. Like, this dude was a major asshole. He's the hero of the show in many ways, but he was a major asshole. He had a secret family. And I love that they did that. I love that they made him kind of messed. I mean, look at the way he had to grow up. He's messed up. I love the way it ended with that. I don't think it was Kong. He had the big gray beard. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was Kong. Maybe it was. I don't know. The show was great. I don't give 2 squirts of urine about how it ties into the movies. I really don't. The show was great. That's all I care about. I mean, obviously it had tie-ins with the other company that eventually makes the Mechagodzilla. Clearly, there are tie-ins, yes, but I quite frankly don't care about the tie-ins. The show's either good or it's not, and the show was great.
Did it feel like to you, John, the show, like, if you kept up with it, which they had, the human stories, they were very intriguing, that they rewarded us with, in back of my head, what I wanted to see the whole time, but didn't get. But they rewarded us in like such a way where it would come like after a few episodes, and then it would come. I'm talking about Godzilla. You know what I mean? Yeah. And his entrances in all the episodes that he was in were so great, especially the last one when he came. Every
time Godzilla showed up, it was epic.
Yeah.
You never got desensitized to it. Like, you never got over that awe and wonder, whether it was in the desert or whether it was the flashback to G-Day, or whether it was when they lured him out in the cove with the device. Every time he showed up, you felt that awe and wonder of Godzilla.
They teased you too.
They
teased us well too, like throughout the show.
Did such a good job with it. All right, what's next?
Rudy says, does Spaceman have an Andy Weir's The Martian Hail Mary vibe? Doesn't matter to me. Still going to see it. Your thoughts? Thanks. Bring on the filthy.
I didn't get any of those
Rudy
vibes
can't fail.
from it to me. It's this. Honestly, you could take this out of outer space and make it about a recluse who just stays in his apartment in New York. I mean, really, you could do that, and then his isolation starts. And that's one of the brilliant pieces of the story, is that it's almost kind of context independent. So I didn't get that feeling from it. It felt very original, and I'm curious to see.
Well, I mean, just from the sake that an astronaut teams up with an alien that's a crab-like entity made of, so the spider aspect of it was similar, but the story seems totally different. Whereas in Andy Weir's story, you have a human being who also has to team up with an alien because both of their worlds are threatened with destruction from the same thing. And they have to figure out how they're going to talk to each other, how they're going to work together, how do their physics work. And first of all, that book is delicious. It is so much fun to read that book. It was so good. They're supposed to make the movie version with Ryan Gosling. I haven't heard nothing about that.
All right, what's next?
All right. Haunted Autumn. Yes, that was a Clash reference. Andy, I was hoping for season 2 of She-Hulk to come only so I can get more Madison and her interactions with Wong. That's all I want. I love her and Wong so much.
Listen, I think it's important to take movies and shows that you didn't like. I think it's a good exercise for all fans, actually. Take a movie or show you didn't like and reflect on what did work in it, right? I do that with movies that I hate. I try to sit back and say, but here's what did work in it. Because the worst of films, the worst of TV shows have things that work. She-Hulk had a couple of things that worked. Like out of their 100 swings at the bat, maybe they had 15 things out of the 100, but the Wong stuff, charming. I hated the Madison thing at first.
In court, right?
And then I kind of fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Again, the Daredevil Walk of Shame, gold. I think anybody who didn't appreciate the Megan Thee Stallion thing she did doesn't understand She-Hulk, because that was pure She-Hulk DNA. That scene. I thought that scene was really funny. I liked the first episode. I thought that, unfortunately, the goodness of the first episode just set me up for massive disappointment for the rest of the show. But I thought the first episode was good. I thought Tatiana gave a good performance. But again, man, you can list off all the stuff you want. If you're a comedy and you're not funny, and that's the problem, the show just did not make you laugh. And maybe they had 15 hits, but out of 100 at bats, that is not good. Not good. All right, what's next?
All right, Andy's back and says, I like how Mutant Mayhem incidentally fulfills Stan Lee's philosophical approach to X-Men, which is a theme of acceptance through mutants.
By the way, I'm going to break a story for you right now. Going to break a story for you.
Oh, what is it?
And this, I'm not joking, not fooling around. This is true. But barring the complete collapse of Paramount, which I don't think Paramount will just implode. I think it'll either find a way to survive or they'll sell off or whatever. But despite the fact that it wasn't a huge box office success, I can tell you for fact, you can take this all you want, I can tell you for fact they are doing a sequel. I can tell you 100% as a fact they are doing a sequel.
People love this movie.
I thought it was I don't even like this iteration. I do not like the modern iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I thought this was an incredibly fun movie. I thought this was really, really good. So anyway, yeah. All right, what's next?
Going to Flavortown. Cam Combe writes, I've been having fun watching short films shortlisted for the Oscars, specifically animated. I recommend Letter to a Pig, Eva, and 95 Senses.
Yeah, you know what? Here's one of the things that's unfortunate for people who want to see that stuff. We talked the other day about how when the Oscars are coming up, movie theaters like AMC have the Oscar showcase that they do every year, where they take a weekend and show every movie that's nominated for Best Picture. I don't know that such a thing exists for short documentary or short live action or short animated. I don't know if such a thing exists for that anywhere. Have you heard of anything like that?
No.
I feel like
No.
But I'm wondering, like, do they have, sometimes they would have, you could go to a theater and see, they would screen all the shorts.
Yeah, I think I do recall AMC doing something for the animated short. You could go and see them. They put them all together.
Yeah, like, didn't they do that at the Burbank 16 once, where you could go down and...
But that is
Maybe?
very rare. It's it's not like it's every theater.
But I would think that would be something that they would, like somebody might program, especially now, a weekend of shorts. Like Make it a Fathom event, maybe.
But are people going to buy tickets?
I don't know.
See, that's the unfortunate
Do you know what
reality.
they are re-releasing in the theaters? Fathom is David Lynch's Dune.
Yes,
Yeah,
I saw that.
1984.
I
Saw
saw
that,
that they're
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
There's a
Not
hunger
that has
for
anything to
Dune
do
out
with
there.
Oscar
But
animated shorts.
It's
that
not
kind of
short.
goes, unfortunately, like I get it. Everybody gets mad at me when I talk about, listen, maybe you need to move the categories of the Oscars of short animated and short live action. The Oscars are too long. Everybody agrees. Guys, nobody cares about those categories. People get mad at me when I say that, but it's the truth. And I think the very fact that we were just talking about that if the movie theater did go, hey, we're going to show all the nominees for best short, whatever, I don't think it's going to sell any tickets. And that's kind of why I think there should still be a category for those things. And I think people should be honored with Oscars, but I think they should move that to the earlier night they do with the technical awards and stuff like that.
Well, you know, you and I have gone back and forth about this, and I have to say, I think that's not a bad idea, only because you're asking people to watch an award show where awards are being given for things they couldn't see or haven't been able to see. So you're asking an audience to watch something that inherently they can't have any interest in because they weren't allowed to have an interest in it, and yet it's still part of the show. Documentary short subject, animated short subject, live action, short. If we can't see these things, why you put them on the technical awards? The
the technical night.
Why not?
Listen, I want to go back again to the Emmys. What did the Emmys just? The Emmys just put on and I'm not an Emmys guy, but the Emmys just put on a banger of a show. Every category that they did at the Emmys was stuff people were interested in, and the ton of other awards they did the week earlier at what they call the Creative Arts Night, where they still gave out some major awards. That's where why am I freezing on Ron Swanson's real name again?
Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
Nick Offerman. That's where Nick Offerman got his award. That's where Wrexham
And that's
won
a
all
big
their awards.
award.
It's a big award. Best Animated got given out at that, right? They got a secondary night where they still give out real Emmys to honor those people, but for the main show, they save it for the stuff that the audience actually cares about and is interested in.
Or that could even see. I mean, if audiences could see these things, they might care.
Yeah, I think they should expand, and they should change the name of the Oscar Technical Night and expand that to Oscars, the B-list night. No, don't call it B-list.
But creative arts or something like that.
the creative celebration or whatever.
I'll call it Oscars, the art of cinema.
Assholes.
The Oscar
You might as well
asshole.
just say that. Tell them how
right.
you really feel. The B-list night.
What's next?
But it's not B-list.
The Oscars that nobody cared about. James McDaniel says, realized Nightcrawler turns 10 this year, so rewatched again. I legit think it's one of the best of the decade, and Jake Gyllenhaal's best performance, rad movie. That was one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, that was my favorite of the year.
Movie's
of that
great.
year.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Jake Gyllenhaal didn't get an Oscar nomination for that role. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Jake Gyllenhaal. And I remember that was a year that was stacked. And I think everybody who got nominated, if they didn't, would have had people. But I remember because Jake Gyllenhaal was so good in Nightcrawler. By the way, people bring up Nightcrawler. Not enough people talk about Renee Russo in that movie.
She's great.
Also one of her best performances, I think. That movie is utterly fantastic.
Do you know you can get a 12-inch action figure of that character?
Really?
A third-party company made a Jake Gyllenhaal Nightcrawler action figure. I do not have it.
Yeah,
I would buy it, though.
I
Eddie
know
Redmayne won that year.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne won, but I
trying to see
don't. I think that he got snubbed for a nomination.
He's only been nominated once, and that was
for the
Brokeback.
Boston movie.
Brokeback.
Oh, it was Didn't he get nominated for that?
Supporting actor.
Oh, supporting act. Because I thought he got nominated for that Boston Marathon bombing movie that he did.
No, he's been nominated once for supporting actor in Brokeback Mountain.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that year was Michael Keaton, Birdman, Benedict Cumberbatch, Imitation Game, Steve Carell, Foxcatcher, which, wow, that was, I thought it was going to him.
He's
Eddie
so
Redmayne, and then Bradley Cooper.
For
American Sniper, yeah.
Yeah. So who do you take out of that list?
Yeah.
But I mean, that feels so weird to say Jake Gyllenhaal did not get an Oscar
man.
nomination.
They should have done it the next year. Released it the
Oh
next year.
my God.
And
yeah.
then the two of my favorite movies that year were that, and then gosh, what was Why can't I think of what he was drumming? And J.K.
Whiplash.
Simmons.
Whiplash.
Whiplash and
With
Nightcrawler
Miles
were my
Teller.
favorite two of that year.
Whiplash is so good.
So good.
All right, sorry. What's next?
Oh my gosh, X12 writes, "Hi John and company, glad you fixed your PC problems. As a fellow tech head, I'd love to hear about your new PC. Have you been to Micro Center in Tustin? It's like a candy store for all tech."
I'll tell you. So, of course, Monday we didn't have a show because we came in and our main production computer just wouldn't start up. Kept going into BIOS, into this BIOS loop. And we went through all these tech websites, and we went through all like top 10, 15 things to try out. As it turns out, it was the M.2 NVMe drive, the boot drive, which somehow the BIOS recognized the hard drive was there, yet it would not boot. And we swapped that out with a drive from another computer, and all of a sudden it booted. So Jonathan needed to take a whole day just to reinstall Windows, reinstall all the apps, get everything set up again, all that kind of nonsense. But it ended up being this one little tiny stick of a hard drive that caused all of our problems. But it's funny you mentioned Micro Center, because as we were frantically trying to figure out what went wrong, we didn't know if our computer was just trashed. I was desperately trying to find, where can I get a powerful enough computer that I don't have to order and wait a week to show up, that we can just run out somewhere and go buy right now. And Micro Center was one of the places we almost went to do that. But thankfully, we got the computer fixed and we didn't need to do that.
A part of me was praying that we wouldn't fix it, because I love Micro Center too. I used to stop by there every day.
You know, I've
after
never
work.
been there. I want to go.
You've never been there.
I've never been
They
there.
actually sell like arcade cabinets that you could just build yourself. Like it's a great place. I mean,
I definitely want to go and check it out. All right, what's next?
Shamrock Vibe says, "Just get Muse to." Oh, you're right. Muse would be great. Just get Muse to add songs to the new Highlander movie. They rock stadiums out.
That's true.
For stadium, yeah. They are a more modern stadium rock type of band.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Mexican Drug Lord writes, excuse me. My mom was excited when she saw Kingpin and Hawkeye. Imagine trying to explain to her that's not the same one from Netflix. I'm glad the show is canon.
I still
Imagine
think
explaining to
this
her
is
how
going to
he
bite them in the ass.
survived the
I think
gunshot
this is a
wound to the eye.
mistake. I mean, look, their original plan was that it wasn't the same Kingpin from the Netflix series and their same Daredevil. It was them just trying to please the fans by bringing back the actors that people have grown to love. And I get it, there are drawbacks to that. Rob, you brought up a really great concern with that, is that you can say it all you want, but a lot of people are still going to associate it with the Netflix thing. You're 100% right about that.
Like
That
our
was
viewer's
definitely one
mom.
of the drawbacks. But, I mean,
Well, you just said
that Kingpin in Hawkeye was clearly not the Kingpin from the Daredevil series on Netflix. But
having
now
a
they're going to
different
say
day.
it is. Now they're going to say it is.
Yeah.
And again, I worry that this is just going to ultimately, fans are going to say they're happy about it now, but I think they're going to be pissed off later. I really do. And Disney's made it pretty clear, not everything from the Netflix series is going to be canon, but I think now fans are going to be pissed off when certain things are canon and certain things are not. And I worry that this is going to backfire. But or it could be the best thing for them. I mean, who knows? We'll see how it turns out. Obviously, whatever they were doing with the Daredevil Born Again series wasn't working.
Yeah.
They scrapped it. So maybe this will be the best thing for them.
Just make sure the writing is great. That's all I ask.
Easiest thing in the world. All right, what's next?
Raph writes, John, we were robbed, meaning if Dune 2 didn't get delayed, we could have had Chalamet in the mix for best lead. Nolan versus Villeneuve for best director.
Yeah.
But now they have a chance to each win.
Listen, I'll tell you right now, I think Dune 2 was going to win Best Picture of the Year. I haven't seen Dune 2, so I'm saying that completely out of my ass, granted. But I really do think Dune 2 was probably set up to be the Best Picture of the Year. I think Denis Villeneuve was going to be set up to be Director of the Year. And it would have made for a even more interesting Oscar race this year. But now it gets to be in the 2024 race.
Yeah.
And we still get to see Dune 2. And it's, other than Deadpool 3, it is my most anticipated movie this year.
Now they'll each get a pillar at Hollywood and Highland, so it's good. 'Cause at
That's
the
right.
mall,
They got their own
have
thing there.
On the pillars. they
Yeah.
have
You have
the-
to be an LA person to know what Jonathan's talking about. All right, what's next?
All right. The inedible Hulk. Why legally can Searchlight back out from contract?
It's not a contract. They owned it. They acquired the rights right? They acquired the rights. Now they can do whatever they want with those rights. And if they want to just give them back, they can give them back. It's a lot like, this is why I'm actually thinking about just creating a podcast that's just talking about the legal aspect of Hollywood. And maybe getting Brooke Chavez to come in and do that with it, who is currently a working lawyer, right? But just talk about the legal issue, because a lot of people still think that, wait a minute, how could Marvel, for example, fire, I always forget the name of the guy who played War Machine first. Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. He's Kang now.
Wait a minute. He was signed to a 3-picture deal. How come he's not there? Because that's not how the contract works. Like a lot of people go, well, you know they're going to do 3 more of those movies because the actor signed a 5-picture deal. Doesn't matter. When a studio signs an actor to say a 5-picture deal, all that means is that the actor has to come in and appear for those 5 movies. It doesn't mean the studio has to use them. It's a very one-sided contract. The studio can decide not to use them anymore.
And there's also clauses where they can, because of these things happening, morals clauses, force majeure clauses, things that they can dispense with.
And then the actors have some protections as well. Clauses like, hey, if the studio moves the schedule and now it conflicts with another movie the actor's supposed to do, now the actor can get out, right?
Yeah.
These things happen. But for stuff like that, like Searchlight, they acquired the rights, but that does not obligate them to do anything with it. They can let it sit, let it lapse, give it back, whatever. So, yeah. All right. What's next?
We got Ron H, UFC 297. Who you got in Maine?
Strickland, baby.
Strickland, Riverside.
I was the only person in the world who called Strickland was going to beat Stylebender. I said Strickland, that is a bad style matchup for Stylebender. And he came out, shocked the world. Listen, Duplessis he's a monster, man. It's going to be a great fight, but I think Strickland takes it. I do. All right, what's next?
CR says, how would it be if Disney made a 30-minute Star Wars sitcom, laugh track and everything? It could be like Everybody Loves Raymond, but on Coruscant.
Okay, you're being facetious, but I'm going to tell you what. It could be a massive hit and be great if it's funny. Again, these arguments, people, it's true. Thor Love and Thunder did not fail because it was silly. It failed because it was silly without being funny at the same time. Deadpool is every bit as silly as Thor Love and Thunder was. The difference is when Deadpool did something silly, it was fucking hilarious. And that's the difference. So yeah, you do a Star Wars 30-minute sitcom, laugh track and everything. You make it as funny as Seinfeld, it's going to be a big hit.
Well, you know, our friend Kevin Rubio, his comic, his Star Wars comic, Tag and Bink.
Yep.
That was legitimately hilarious, sometimes laugh out loud so. And it could work.
All right, what's next?
James Wheeler says Tatiana Maslany played the young mother who died at the beginning of Eastern Promises.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that. I got to go back and look. I'm always kind of fascinated by, did you know that such and such actor was in this movie 20 years ago? Like that kind of stuff always, I get a kick out of
Well,
that.
especially if you rewatch it and then you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've seen this so many times. I never knew that, you know what I mean? Because they were not huge yet or whatever.
Right, you didn't know who that was. Now you know.
Now
after
you do.
Orphan Black in this.
You know, it's funny. I was watching this video on the history of Law and Order the other day, and they went through this huge laundry list of all these today big major stars when you had no idea who they were when they were in these early episodes of Law and Order.
Same with Miami Vice.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. What's next?
All right. Going to hear from our members. Majork says, there's plenty of bands to choose from probably, but I would throw Fall Out Boy from Highlander soundtrack out there. I would pass that back. I'm pretty biased since they are my all-time favorite band. Hey, you gotta love what you gotta love. Or get the guys who did first Spider-Verse. Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, who did the first Spider-Verse? I know Metro did a lot of the second
Metro
one.
Boom.
I actually like the idea of Muse.
I know. I've been thinking about that. Muse is a good idea.
All right, what's next?
All right, we got Dominic Suma. Do you think Iger regrets the Fox acquisition? May have been too bold to do it around the same time as launching Disney Plus, but in fairness, he didn't know a pandemic was about to cripple their parks experience and movie division.
Absolutely not. Because when you acquire and buy something like that, that is only you are going to enjoy the dividends of that for decades. And it's going to pay off. It's kind of never regret buying a piece of property. And when you had the opportunity that availed itself for him to buy, the one thing he is pissed off about, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when they first announced that they were buying Fox, the purchase price, I think, was $40 billion, right? Which would have been amazing. And then Comcast, NBC Universal, bought them by coming in and say, oh, hey, Fox, we want to put in a bid too. They never intended to buy Fox. We want to put in a bid too. We'll pay you $55 billion. To which Disney then had to go, fine, 60. Oh, we'll pay 65. And then Iger's like, fuck, yeah! Fine, $70 billion. And then Comcast went, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. They can take it. So they literally fucked Disney out of $30 billion.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody in the industry tells you, out of pure spite.
Well, I think they're about to do that with WB if they try to acquire Paramount.
Yeah, probably. Probably. All right. What's next?
Amin says, I think if Air had been released closer to the end of the year, it would have gotten more awards buzz.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Air is like, I'm not doing a top 10 list of the year, but it would be on that list. Air would be in my top 10. I thought that was a brilliant film.
Yeah.
Brilliant film.
But you know what? To be fair, I think Iron Claw is going to get overlooked, and it was near the end of the year.
I thought Iron Claw was great, and you're right. And it was near the end of the year, and it's not going to help it. So, all right.
And Viola Davis in Air was terrific.
Yeah. Everybody. Jason Bateman was terrific. Ben Affleck was terrific. Matt Damon was terrific. Like everybody in that movie was so good.
I even say to this, like Marlon Wayans, one scene, but it was pivotal. It was
the one in the bar.
Yeah,
so good.
That's great.
All right, what's next?
All right, Dr. Stinky. Hey, John and crew. I watched Blue Eye Samurai. It's amazing. What an interesting time with my mom. I didn't expect all the sex scenes, but I worked in the store. But they worked in the story. 9 out of 10. Anyway, love y'all.
What was it that the dude with no hands called boobs? Did he call them peaches? Peaches! Whenever he would see boobs. Guys in the live chat, help me out. What was it he called it again? Listen, Blue Eye Samurai is... I had no interest in this show. None. And I had a whole bunch of our viewers write into me and say, John, I think you're really going to like this. So one day, Ann was off in LA with her girlfriends, and I was home for the evening. I thought, you know what? I'm going to pop on Blue Eye Samurai. Watch the whole series in one night. Couldn't stop watching it. So, I mean, first of all, it was funny and like, beaches. Yeah, that was all funny, but it was dramatically great.
So good.
It's hard for action and animation to thrill me. It normally doesn't. But the action was fantastic.
I also thought the French animation company did a phenomenal job. The look of it was beautiful.
Visually, it was stunning.
Even from the opening, I finally finished it, and the opening of it with the snow and everything, I was immediately captivated.
Yeah, loved the show. Absolutely loved it. I'm nervous about it leaving Japan and going to, I think it's London where they're going to. I don't know if the show will work as well in that context, but whatever. The season 1 was fantastic. All right, what's next?
Yulitan says, fun fact, did you know Tom Hardy is a rapper who goes by the alias Frankie Pulitzer? He has a few songs on Czarface's albums and is a very gifted lyricist. I listened to these albums for years and never knew it was Tom.
I never knew that.
I never knew that either.
Doesn't surprise me for some reason.
Speaking of Toms and rapping, did you know Tom Green was a rapper?
Tom Green, Freddie Got Fingered, Tom Green?
He was part of a Canadian rap band early in his career. And I'm trying to remember the name. The one kind of hit song they had was called Check the OR.
Lil Hoser.
That was not the name of the band.
I was thinking of something Canadian and rapping.
What was I'm trying to remember the name of the band again. Anybody in the live chat who knows what it is, check the OR. You like me so far? Check. And it's just them walking around various neighborhoods in Toronto, doing this with their hands. But it's totally ridiculous. But I'm trying to remember the name of the band, and I can't. Or anybody in the live chat who knows what it was, let me know in the live chat. I want to know.
No, don't please, because that would be really sad.
All right, what's next?
We got Mighty Tank who says, hey, everyone, I know your current favorite comedian is Joe Coy, But have you ever heard of Taylor Tomlinson? She recently took over as host for James Corden's night slot for late night. I'm usually not into comedy specials, but her 2 Netflix specials are both worth the watch. Taylor Tomlinson.
No, not aware of her.
You would know her if you saw her.
Okay.
She looks kind of like a grown-up high school girl, and she's got a very cute, funny.
Isn't that what most
perky-
women look like? Grown-up high school girls?
So, but she's still got that teen energy to her, even though she's hilarious. She was on Stephen Colbert the other night, and she's taken over.
Oh, wait a minute. Did she present with Stephen Colbert at the Emmys?
Probably.
Okay. In that case, I didn't recognize her, but okay, that makes it. By the way, of course, I should have known. The name of the song was Check the OR. The name of Tom Green's rap band was Organized Rhyme. True story. Tom Green, of course, is a good Canadian kid. So back in the AMC days, when we moved out of the storage closet and we got our own studio space, that became the AMC Movie News Studios and later the Collider Movie News Studios. And I found this place, and AMC got it for us. There was one other occupant in the building with a studio as well, and it was Tom Green. Tom Green had his own studio in the building where he did an internet show as well. And it took a couple of months, but at some point we finally bumped into each other in the hallway, and he brought me back into a studio show. We hung out for the day. Very, very cool guy, Tom Green. Very, very cool guy. All right. Anyway, what's next?
We have Skellep, who says, "Hi, John," or "Hi, crew." John, I know you've said you've given the Attack on Titan anime a try before. I was curious how many episodes you gave it. Also, has anyone else on the crew given it a watch? The show recently finished. It's an amazing piece of storytelling. Once you finish it, your first instinct is to watch it again.
It's one of those rare things where I actually read it before I saw the show because Ann started collecting them. So I read it and I thought, cool. Then when the show was out and I thought I'll give it a shot, I gave it like 3 episodes.
There's a live action movie too.
Yes, there is. There's a Japanese live action version of it, but and I've seen clips of it on YouTube. But yeah, the animated show just didn't work for me, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't work for other people. I'm just saying for me, it didn't work, unfortunately. All right. Last question of the day. What's next?
All right. Joel Checky says, all the awards talk about Paul Giamatti makes me think about him in Cinderella Man as Russell Crowe's manager coach. He is incredible in that, and honestly, one of my favorite supporting roles of all time.
Cinderella Man is a movie that is the problem, here's what happened with Cinderella Man. That was right around the time when Russell Crowe started getting some bad press because he was behaving badly,
throwing
phones at people and whatnot.
Meg Ryan, Proof of Life.
Yeah. The whole Meg Ryan thing, right? He broke up America's couple. And I get it. The really unfortunate thing, though, is that Cinderella Man is one of his best movies. That movie's phenomenal. I remember this because it got so bad. The opening weekend sucked. The studio put out a guarantee. Do you remember this, guys? Where they were like, come see Cinderella Man this week, and if you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. I had never heard that before, and I've never seen it since. But they were so confident in that movie, and every reason to be confident. They actually put out this guarantee. Come see the movie. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. Because they knew you're going to like. So, I mean, people could go and lie.
Yeah.
But the movie was great.
Ray did.
And Giamatti was great in it. Russell Crowe was fantastic. What was it Renee Zellweger?
Yeah.
Was that the wife in that? Everybody's fantastic in it. It's a moving story. It's absolutely wonderful. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. All right. With that down, guys, I've gone as far as I can go. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Coming back and join us again tomorrow. There will not be an open mic later today. I mentioned yesterday I was going to try doing today. I know I'm not going to be able to do it by myself, unfortunately. So maybe tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to do it. But until then, I want to thank the people in the room with me. Ray Ora.
See you guys later.
Jonathan Voico.
See ya.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Watch Designing Hollywood.
Yes, it's out there. It's a good one right now. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.